Hello everyone, this is Hendrix from Starseed Talk, and today we're going to interview Geraldine, and she's going to start with her story.
Hi, thank you so much for having me on your show. It's a real pleasure to be here.
Thank you.
So do you want me to just tell the story how I began with the spiritual awakening? For me,
Yeah, we'll talk about your awakening, how it happened in 2013, it says there in your bio.
Yeah, so 2013 was really a major shift for me, but my spiritual awakening was really happening early on in 2008, 2009. I had already been beginning to kind of question reality as a result of the death of my partner. And I think that's when I really started to dive deep into these more deeper concepts of consciousness and spirituality. And so I started to deprogram through meditation all of the programs and the false identities, false concepts of who I was at that time, who I thought I was at that time. And anything that came in through religion, culture, all of that stuff started to peel away until I came into a blank state. And that's actually when I had this experience in 2013. I think that it's because of that clearing that kind of allowed the space for this kind of experience. So in 2013, I was woken with a bright light in my room, and next thing I know, I'm paralyzed and being taken out of my bedroom window into craft with 6 grays, who then introduced me to a series of information. They told me that I had, previously incarnated. Well, it's not previous, it's not a linear timeline, but, at some point been a part of a Pleiadian aspect of myself that was living out, doing kind of the same thing that I'm doing, just teaching, talking about this information. And the most impactful part of that experience was the moment when they introduced me to my hybrid children. So they introduced me to these children that are basically hybrids, a combination of humanoid and grays and also reptilian. And so it was shocking to recognize myself in these little kids that I had never seen before. And the moment of connection, it was a download, you could say, some kind of telepathic connection in which I started to recall memories of past experiences that I had with them, memories that were suppressed. So it was incredibly shocking, and really, really funny. Like the next day, I didn't really know what to do with that experience. 3 hours later, at 6 in the morning, I find myself at the edge of my bed. It's a very in detail experience, and I kind of talk about this on my YouTube channel. But I'm looking upside down at the edge of my bed, and I feel like I got hit by a truck, and I didn't know if I should call the police, as silly as that sounds. I really was thinking, what do I do with this experience that was so shocking? Where do you find justice? Where do you understand what's happening? So Monday, I teach meditation. I'm the owner of Bay Area Meditation here in San Francisco. I do corporate meditation, and I also teach individual. And so my first client that I saw that day, I'm teaching her meditation, and it was just like I could feel absolutely everything that she was feeling. I had images of her life in my mind, things that she had gone through that day. And it was nauseating and dizzying. And I got very, very sick because I realized that I was incredibly sensitive to all of the information that she was carrying in her energetic body, in her emotional body, everything. So it took me like 2 months to be able to kind of integrate this new ability, per se, this psychic ability that had been kind of ripped open at that point. And I got certified in pranic and quantum energy healing early on in 2009. And that was like my point of reference to kind of understand what I was looking at in the bodies. I could see colors, shape, masses of colors, stagnant dark colors in the body, chords. I mean, all this mass of color and information that I would pick up from people. And, over the years, I learned how to utilize that information. And it's what I do now called DNA reprogramming, to literally shift the vibrational overall frequency of someone, in their life and what they're experiencing.
That's amazing. Yeah. We have a lot of similarities with our awakening. My awakening was in 2012. I had the same thing. I actually glowed white one night. My body just went bright white. And I thought maybe there was a spotlight on me. I have no idea. And then I went to bed that night, and I was actually ripped out of my body and then placed on a ship orbiting Earth. And there were just these tall, they look like Pleiadians, almost like tall
Mm.
white beings, blonde hair, glowing face. Like you barely see facial skin. It's just so bright white. They're so positive, and blue eyes, and they had silver armor on. And I was laying in a chair staring at them, but I could see the earth below me. And I just asked them, and they were speaking in my mind. They just said, and I asked, who am I? And they said, Ykarta, Ykarta, and that is a place. That was just a domino effect to my awakening. And then I was put back in my body, and then I woke up that morning completely, like I thought it was, I don't even know who to talk to about any of this stuff back in
Yeah.
2012. So
Oh,
I just went online, and I had this really weird urge to start self-educating, or just typing in stories similar and human origin stories. And I just started just months on months just going into this stuff. Plus every night they were taking me out of my body, the short grays and the Pleiadians, and showing me past lives. But I know past, present, future all are all parallel to each other. So they're showing me different lifetimes I live in, and serving in the SSP and all that stuff, and therefore. And then they also started showing my abilities over time. My abilities they're super strong now. I'm really having a hard time nowadays because I have lots of headaches, or
mm.
I
Yeah.
have to remove myself from human contact because their energy is so toxic, and I can feel all their emotions, and it drives me insane. So I just run back to my house where I'm full of animals, and I just feel so much better with it, with animals' energy
Yeah.
than a human energy. And I do lots of awakenings on this show, or like people I talk to or email me, I just call them up and they will video chat, and I can completely sync with them in their mind. And I can see what they're telling me, and they're seeing what I'm telling them in our minds. And we go to these astral planes together, like I'm holding their hand, jumping through portals, like in our astral forms, and just getting them that awakening, plus showing them what energies they need to work on in their chakra charts that have blockages because they're not connected to the center source anymore. And once they start doing that, they like call me or email me months later saying they're just like so much more, just like boom, like it's just like their own little awakening they have. Plus teach them high vibrational diets. It's a big thing too. So
Yeah, that's amazing. Awesome. Well, I'm honored to meet another person that has had such a conscious experience.
and before that I was completely human, like before that experience.
Right.
I
And
had
yeah,
no idea.
yes, I completely relate to that because it was the same for me. If you talked to me 10 years about aliens, I would look at you like, okay, buddy, like I wouldn't be able to relate to you.
Yeah.
So, and then that's the funny thing that in my regression in 2017, when I was regressed, I started to download massive amounts of information about the origins of bloodlines that were interconnected with these alien extraterrestrial or interdimensional consciousness that basically bred our human race. So these are concepts that where it's not something that you can make up, it's not something that you can read in one book. And so it was interesting to have access to this kind of information in such an organic way that we all have access to when we dive into the inner layers of that programming that brainwash us when we come into this planet, when we're born, when we go through our education, and all these things that are compartmentalizing our perception
Oh,
take
I
us
love it.
away from the truth, the
Hmm.
truths that are actually very vividly out there,
Oh,
available.
oh no, yeah. Like the truth is literally in front of our faces. I always talk about our school system, how we're completely brainwashed elementary and high school and college, right? It's all controlled information of what they want us to learn, and it changes our perception. Plus, it's all the other inputs we have, like, TV, music videos, popular, the Kardashians, all that crap, right?
That's
Completely turns us into such an egotistical race. Like babies are so nice, that's who we are, and then we're just completely transformed into something we're not. And we all mimic each other. All of our personality traits are based on other people's that we see from each other.
That's exactly right. And that for me was like the beginning of my awakening too, because I started to recognize that intuitively, I was no longer resonating with the things that I was seeing outside of me, television, entertainment, all of these things, even my friends, family, my culture, my religion, were all telling me that I had to be a certain way, live a certain way, do certain things in order to be successful and whatnot. And it just wasn't fitting. It wasn't working, even though I was working hard to reach those things.
Yeah.
It's like, and it's in kind of in the spiritual realm, we kind of have something similar too, because I've studied many religions, I've experienced many different religions, and even then I was unable to find this kind of understanding, this very
Hmm.
deep understanding of who we are as organic consciousness, experiencing all of these things that we are in this human body. So,
Hmm.
it really takes a very deep deprogramming from those things to understand what the human is, this soul that is a fractal of that infinite consciousness, here
Hmm.
to experience all possibilities, right?
Yeah.
The good, the bad, all of these things that we experience are just expressions of polarity. And it's really hard to understand and detach from those concepts of the matrix or the programming that makes us believe that, if we're not following these guidelines, we're wrong or we have to have shame. Um, I
Yeah.
feel like those pains are like the most destructive and the most, it's a distraction away from what we are without even having to do anything. It's that
Oh
awareness
yeah.
has to come in.
Since I've
Yeah.
been doing these YouTube channels and I post everything on my Instagram, I'm like I'm fully a draconian now, like that teaches people, right? I don't hide behind a human mask anymore. And I get like if I was seeing this human girl for a bit and her friends would make fun of me so much because they're so asleep. Like they would, his brain is fried from doing drugs, like he's a delusional, like there's no such thing as aliens. I'm just like calm because I'm just like, you're just how asleep you people, you humans really are. Like this universe is so vast and so beautiful. Like we're living multiple lifetimes all at once in past, present, and future. That's what your dream state is you existing in multiple realities at once. We live in the multiverse. The first thing an alien said to me when I was awakened and traveling the multiverse in my dreams, the alien looks at me and it looks like he's like, I looks like I'm stupid. He's like, don't you know you live in a multiverse? And I was like, because in their reality, that's normal. They're taught that in schools, right? So I've had to learn the hard way, but now like I'm living complete multiple lifetimes at once. When this body goes to sleep at night, I'm off world, past, present, future, living a completely another lifetime with a new set of friends and family and job or whatever. I even have kids and other girlfriends, other dimensions, and then you come back here, and then the problem I'm having is like a lot of my memories are I'm starting to remember all of them, so my memories are being they're being like blended in with each other. So I'm like having a hard time remembering, well, if this memory is this lifetime or another lifetime. So sometimes I'll say things and people like that never happened here. I'm like, oh, okay, that was in a different lifetime. Sorry. But the humans don't understand that, right? And that's why I wish they'd wake up because the universe is so beautiful out there. Like it's such a more of an amazing place than what our perception, our human perception is as of today.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. I mean, within the body, we have the entire universe available to us, multiverse available to us. And I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it's interesting that you brought that up because in my journey of spiritual awakening, when I was going through those layers, when you reach a point where you start to have access to all of your past lives. And there's something that's interesting that I discovered through that journey is really understanding the biology of this human body and how it's such a massive record of all that information. It's actually this human body, which is a holographic projection, down to the cellular molecular level. It's oscillating to create these kind of toroidal fields that create a network of information. So the way that we store information is actually holographic. And so the interesting thing about that is that you start peeling these layers of information once you start deprogramming the human matrix. You go into these layers like you experienced. And what you'll find is that in all of these different planes that you have access to, there's so much information. Some of those are repetitive cyclical patterns. And if you don't go into work and dissolve those things, we are basically experiencing that and manifesting it and resonating with that kind of frequency in this current timeline. So
Mhm.
all of our experiences are going to mirror that, and they're going to come up. They're going to show up in our family, in our work, in our
Yeah,
friends,
I've
people that
noticed
we
that so
meet.
much lately.
Yeah,
Jesus. The universe is so repetitive of the same lessons. And if you, and karma is massive. Like I noticed if I don't learn from a lesson, it will come up like 6 to 8 months down the road in a different form, but same lesson. And you can almost predict it now because like I'm like, hey, I need to learn from my past, get rid of my karma because karma is a real thing. And and yeah, I've been predicting because I've seen a lot of like history always repeats itself on this earth for some reason. It's with anyone actually.
exactly. And so what I've discovered through this holographic concept of DNA is that we can actually deprogram. We understand how epigenetics works, right? Our environment affects our bodies, and everything that we eat, think, and feel is also affecting the information that we're holding in this holographic structure.
Yeah, I
So
love how you brought that up. Yeah,
yeah, and
food is a massive part of
it's
our problem
incredibly.
here. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I went on a complete sugar detox this year, and you
So
won't.
am I. I've been on 7 months sober now. No
That's amazing.
sugar,
That's
nothing.
amazing.
No MSGs, no food coloring, no fucking GMOs, nothing. And I feel amazing.
Me too. Me too. And but it's not easy. I mean, it was a transition, and the first couple of weeks were brutal. I even thought I would die at one point because the body. I mean, you're really like
It's an addiction. It's an addiction.
detox.
Yeah.
It is. It really
Yeah,
is.
when I got
Amazing.
off fast food for 7 months now, the first 3 weeks, because you're doing an MSG detox, and that shit is so addictive. Cocaine, or sorry, not cocaine, but sugar is 6 times more addictive than cocaine, right? Artificial sugar. So now, like, I'm so cleaned out. My body's super high sensitive now. I like for some, like, say someone has a Coca-Cola, I'll go just like put my tongue in it. Just I could taste it like a million times stronger than I ever tasted it before. And I'm just like, ew, cancer, like gross. Like all those people are lining up through McDonald's drive-throughs, worried about the coronavirus. I'm like, what about your health? Like whatever you're inputting is what you're outputting. That's just low vibrational diets, right? So
That's right. That's right. And all that stuff is like this heavy mass. This is part of this kind of mass manipulation, mass control. How do you control the masses of individual consciousness? You drug them up with sugar, with pharmaceuticals, you numb their brain and the ability to rationalize and live
fluoride too,
outside of
fluoride.
a very structural way of thinking through education system, and you make them go into little boxes where they have to fit into families and follow this certain lifetime where you're born, you get education, you get married, and then you die, right? You have this one little lifetime.
Mm, yeah, they're
So
pre-programmed into thinking that. Yeah.
exactly. And so, how does a human break away from that? It's really important. The only time that we become conscious of that is when you finally realize that it doesn't matter how many times you try to do everything right in that little structure. You are a multidimensional being, and you just will never fit into that box. There are aspects of you that will come up in trauma, in pain, in relationships that are calling to you to dissolve and become aware of those aspects. And I think that that's really the part of the soul. This is the human physical body. We are here on a journey to experience that polarity and dissolve all of those repetitive patterns. When the human body incarnates into the body, it actually fragments into this incredible, beautiful spectrum of our chakra system. And it's connected to the endocrine system with all the organs and everything. It's holding information. So all of the memories that we have of our past lives and experiences are coming from that information that's holographically, literally at a cellular level in your body. So when you
I
make
love you so
this,
much, man. You talk so like what I like.
awesome, thank you, thank you. And it's great that you're following that, because when you make
Oh, I
shifts
understand
like,
everything you're saying. Yeah.
yeah, it really affects your whole body. You energetically, when I see a body that is someone that's eating well, thriving, I mean, they look completely different than someone that's in their root chakra, these first three chakras, right? This is how we are manipulated. We are in a state of fear. We are overly sexualized and manipulated with our sexuality. And our food in our solar plexus, our emotional center, is played with because of hormones, because of all of these things that imbalance the chemicals in the body. So,
Mhm.
it's like if you don't become aware of that and make changes drastically, you just become a puppet and a host for a lot of things, not just illness, but multidimensionally, you open up to entities, attachments, all kinds of things that can come in
Oh,
and
the entities that you would need to talk about that. That is a big thing. So entities, as in dark archons, I call them, right? They're like little shadow beings, right? And they completely feed off negativity and hatred. Like I've seen them around people. Because I can see these beings all the time. They're just leached on people and they're just sucking their energy auras dry. And because they're just a very negative person and or they're having a very low vibrational diet. That's what my theory of Halloween is, kids go trick-or-treating and these beings love children's energy because it's such more of a pure form of energy, and these kids are all hopped up on sugar for a night, and these dark archons just leech on them every October 31st and suck them dry. And like if people knew what Halloween was really about, like I'm like, you're inviting these archons into your house because your kids are so hopped up in it, and just like their energy aura is just pumping, come feed off me, right? So
I absolutely agree. Not only do I agree, but I've seen that. And I used to be one of the biggest fans of Halloween. I love dressing up and doing all that stuff. But when you realize what is actually happening that night, it's literally like psychological warfare on our children, keeping them, drugged up with the sugar, and then, getting all those juices, that life force energy in a state of fear. So, I mean, I just like when you become older and you think, if I were to have children, I would never let them participate in any of that, because when you can see these other dimensions of things that are happening. I mean, if I see the children trick-or-treating outside of me, you can literally see these entities feeding off their energy.
Oh yeah, I've seen entities like say when I was doing mushrooms, I saw entities in my house just chilling around light sources and sucking the light energy out of that lamp. And like they had like hundreds of tentacles wrapped around this light, like moving all at once, and it just looked like a little jellyfish, just like sucking. And I saw it, and it like moved away, like into a different dimension. And then like I've always wondered if that was like, how when you feel something crawling up your leg and you look, there's nothing there. I've always wondered if that's what that was, right? And then, or you're laying in bed sleeping, and then you feel like someone walking on your bed towards you, and you see footprints in the bed sheets, and you're just like, what
Yeah.
the hell is
Yeah,
that? Yeah.
we live right now surrounded by millions of entities and beings that are surrounding us. We are so used to programmed looking at things through our eyes, and we think that's it, whatever is there visual, but we forget that we have other senses. We have 5 senses that are available to us, that if we know how to tap into them and acknowledge them, we can tap into our higher senses, which is our intuition. We can
Mhm.
feel, sense, touch, taste, hear, all kinds of things around us. We are
Mhm.
so used to being outside of the body and disconnected from the body that we externalize all of these communications that are available to us, and we are unaware of all the things that
It's
are going
amazing how you say this. So like how I'm trying to figure out. I know what the problem is like who is smart enough to design a system like this,
well,
right?
that is exactly the question. And the thing is that
Well,
the
I know who it
intelligence,
is. It's the reptilians and the draconians that it and the
it,
grays, and they're everyone's influenced. Oh, God talked to you in my head. I'm like, how do you know that's not like reptilians talking to you in your head, right? They're like, what do you mean reptilian? I'm just like, yeah. So like it's like a very like I've traveled the universe in many incarnations, busting slave systems, and then I come here. This system is so well designed, the slave system. It's like kids are manipulated from birth. But also I think it's not just the aliens. I think it's also AI that's doing it too. AI computers that are like a really advanced one that is also helping the aliens learn how to do this, because this is a slave system that's on thousands of planets, not just this one.
well, when you talk about the matrix that was built on this immediate planet Earth, I mean, there are 3 main bloodlines that seeded these our entire human race. So we are literally a product of a long lasting line of hybridization, which have trickled down through centuries. And these bloodlines were heavily preserved. And they went into the royal families, into the majority of these families in control. If we look at our our reality today and the different aspects of society that are controlling everything from the pharmaceutical industry to the financial aspect, education, food, all of these things are owned under an umbrella of 147 companies that are owned by just a very small number of people. Okay, very
Mhm.
small specific families. And these are the families that are descended from these original bloodlines of control. And they are interlinked, linked and managed with a kind of covert government that we are not aware of, levels that are much higher. And this is where we start looking at these draconian areas of control that carry out a lot of these things. Now, it's not to say that draconian, reptilian are all bad. Of course, we live in polarity. So there is everything, right? And so these are just expressions of that polarity that are carried out. Whenever there is light, there's always going to be dark, right? So we're
Oh,
experiencing
100%.
those things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of
So
people are scared of me because I'm my draconian heritage, and then I'm just like, I have so many memories and experience of. I think I'd feel. I think the reason why I went rogue is because my draconian parents hate what I'm doing here, but like I have experiences like I told you, I traveled the multiverse, freeing little slave colonies of humans on draconian homeworlds that were used as a meat source, and started freeing those ones because I just felt bad for them, and then I got outcasted, and I started traveling the galaxy, freeing slave planets. I only know maybe one or two more that are like me, but like I'm trying to show like other races that like they're like how you say there's not everyone's good or bad. Like there is good. It's also from experience. Like I would never have fallen in love with humans if I never came here and incarnated here on other planets too. I had to experience them. And then I'm like, wow, like what we're doing is wrong. Like this slave system is wrong. That's why I invite other draconians and reptilians to incarnate on human planets, live a human lifetime just once in their existence, and experience and then see what you're doing is wrong. It's the same as like if humans incarnated as a cow or chicken and see what you're doing is wrong, right? So you can when you come back out, you can change that system.
we are all those things. In all of us, we have all these ranges of consciousness, from draconian to reptilian to angels to all these things. We're
Mm-hmm.
everything, and we're interconnected. And it's just any aspect of this. The way I look at it is kind of like a spider web, and every single one of those little links are connecting to points. Any one of those points that are aware and conscious in the present moment are the ones that are living out that life. So in this moment, I'm conscious and aware here. But if I begin to activate other parts of myself, those parts of myself will also become conscious. And so like the work that you're doing in dream time is incredibly important, because our job is not just to become conscious in the waking time, this physical body. We need to become conscious in dream time and in death. Even when we are detaching from this physical body, you have the ability to become conscious and begin to navigate those planes so that you can decide, utilizing, applying the free will as a sovereign entity, where you wish to next experience your
Oh, yeah,
dream.
100% agree with you. Every time this body goes to sleep, I'm always in another dimension, flying around, liberating planets from slave systems, or incarnating or teaching other races that don't are like humans and trying to raise their consciousness, awareness, and vibration, and just always teaching, always incarnating, always fighting. And then I come back in this body with full memory. I'm like so drained, and I have to go do my job for the day here. And I'm just like, and then I'm like, I always wish I could be doing more here, but I'm doing so much more. Even in the astral realms, I'm doing so much more, like where there's actually souls trapped in the AI net that are between this world and the next place, and they're just lingering in dust
Mhm.
for centuries, and I'm helping them free. Then this AI comes right up behind me, and I just go unconscious, and I just wake up back in this body, and I'm just like I'm trying to process all that at the same time and stuff. So.
Well, we come into this physical body in order to work with the information that we have in the physical body. And when the soul connects with this physical shell, as I was saying earlier, we connect with that chakra system, but we're also connecting to another network, which is our DNA, which is the connection that takes us down our ancestral lineage. And the important thing about that is that ancestral lineage that goes down the mitochondrial DNA, which is an aggregate photocopy of all to before, is in the body and also transmitting cyclical trauma, all of these programs that are coming up in our current life. When we're born, from the age of birth to the age of 7, we're heavily programmed, and those kinds of programs that have been coming down that lineage are solid within us. So what we're working on here, for example, you're talking about liberating these souls on these other planes. We actually have a lot of work to do in our physical body, within our ancestral lineage, because those are cyclical patterns of programs that are going to be surfacing in your life. So if you're feeling, you have problems in your family, if you have financial blockages, emotional blockages, all of those things are a representation of all of that information that makes up your whole vibrational frequency. And you
Yeah.
become resonance to the things around you, and you attract those same experiences over and over
I
again.
love you so much. You
So,
can predict everything. No, it's
so
good because I've been working on that with my higher self and my what do you call them, life guides or coaches, or what you want to call them. Um, my biggest problem is I don't attach emotionally to anyone or anything in this incarnation because I know it's a temporary experience. So my life guide will come in here and take me to like a meeting. Like he's in a business suit and he looks at me. He's like, you need to connect with your dad, your mom. You need to enjoy your experience here because that's part of the reason you're here. Past karma is the reason why you had to reincarnate here from a
right.
parallel timeline that I died at age 44. They showed me my tombstone and everything. And I was so, also that lifetime, they showed me I was so detached from everything. Like I had a cat and that was it. I had no family. I had no loved one, no friends, because I didn't want to make any commitment because I knew it was just a temporary experience. So I just wanted to move on to the next place. But that's the reason why that's why I got sent back here in this
There you
timeline, is
go.
to make sure I don't keep repeating the same mistakes, because it's going to keep happening over and over again. I'm going to have to recarding. And I actually died in a past life also because of a drug addiction. And then I also had a drug addiction in this lifetime because I repeated the same mistakes, but now I've been sober 5 years. But when I got sober, they took me off world and wrote congratulations in the stars. Like I finally beat that, right?
Hey,
And then
that's fabulous. And I'm so proud of you and the work that you're doing in your soul. It is so inspiring to hear your spiritual journey. And I mean, one of
I
the
get a
reasons
lot of
why,
help though, a lot of help from up there. Like they really help. They will, if I'm really on the wrong path, they usually just rip me out of my body and throw me right in front and center. And they're like
awesome.
so vivid in my life guide. And he projects, they're smart. This alien projects people that I respect and will listen to. Like a childhood friend I haven't seen in 20 years. And I'm just like clear as day. I'm like, holy shit. Yeah.
Wow, that's great. And it's great that you had that support, but all of us, we have our support team.
Oh,
The
for sure
and
we do.
and,
Yeah.
and for me, I feel like I've come to a point where I feel like my strongest support team is my higher self. So if we can connect to that higher self, always using discernment with who we're connecting with also, because you're
Mhm.
learned, you're practiced, you know how to deal with these alter planes. But a lot of people are just learning. And so my advice to them is that when you're starting to connect to other things, I would suggest first connect to your higher self and really strengthen that, because you need to
Mhm.
train your intuition so that when you connect with these other entities, you know whether they are pro your healing and evolution, or they're
That's
just
totally
siphoning
right.
the
Yeah.
life force off
Be
of you.
careful who you talk to, because you could connect to a negative entity that wants the worst for you, right? And that's what I harp on people that all the time, and they hear voices in their head. I'm like, how do you know that voice wants the best for you? How do they know they're not manipulating you for their own control or their own amusement? And I for years I'd always ask a question, and then my voice would speak in my own head and give me the answer, and I would be like, oh. And then I figured out that was my higher self always speaking to me, always using my own, because it's me speaking to me in my own head with the voice, and like calling me out on things I was doing, and just like, why are you acting like this, you know what I mean, like it's karmic reaction, you really want to deal with this? So now I'm like so paranoid on making sure my karmic reaction is, I have to eliminate it. I'm done. I don't want to come back here another lifetime and have
Right.
to repeat the same mistakes, because that, to me, that's hell. I want to evolve and constantly change and change and change. And that's probably why I have such a hard time dating humans, is because I have to change and change and evolve and evolve. And humans are so, especially the ones that are asleep, they're so third dimensional and so boring to me, right? And it's just like I outgrow them within the first month or two, and I'm just like, there's nothing
Yeah.
against them, and I try to show them what I'm about, and then I get rude comments like, "Oh, you're delusional, you're a liar." Like I'm just like, "Holy shit, man! Like I'm not
Yeah,
any of
you,
those."
you you brought up a really good point because, you know, our relationships are the ones that help us evolve the most. They are the ones, and of course, since we're experiencing these repetitive patterns, they're always going to be the ones to trigger those little soft spots. But if you're not evolving, if you're not finding a partner that's on your same vibrational resonance and level, you're going to be falling back. You're going to feel like you're going to have to go back to that
Or
comfort.
irritation. I get irritation that I know they're holding me back, right? And then,
Yeah, and but
yeah.
that just brings you back to that heavy vibrational frequency that's more destructive than constructive. So,
Yes, I
you know,
agree with you.
what
That was my
what
last one.
yeah, well, oh, I'm sorry to hear that. But
No, no,
what
it was my own
do,
fault because I believed in the best, and it was making me so dense and so negative, and I felt like it was just like 1,000 pounds added to my chest. And as soon as we detached, I completely evolved the next day. I was like, shot off like a rocket. I was like, I can't be in that anymore. So
so a lot of people they engage in relationships, and sometimes, you know, they don't listen to their intuition. They ignore that message that says it's time for you to move on. And because it's comfortable and familiar, and we're afraid of being alone and of the unknown, we get stuck in these very toxic relationships and
I
patterns that
agree with
keep us
you
held back.
100%. A lot of
Yeah.
humans don't
So
understand that everything's a temporary experience, but yes, connect. But
yeah.
every relationship, even friendship, is a learning lesson of experience, and sometimes you just have to move on to the next one. And when you
Yeah.
try to explain that to a human being when you're dating them, they're just like, "Oh, what? You want to cheat on me? You want to be with someone else?" I'm like, "Dude, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just like enjoy our time together, but this will have to detach one day." Like,
Yeah, it's very hard. I mean, obviously, we have centuries of programming that tell us, and obviously because of religion, that talk about the shame and guilt of
in
our own
tradition, yeah.
sexuality and our connection. And really, our whole concepts of relationships, the majority, are completely inverted. I mean,
Oh yeah, so
everything
wrong.
everything that is divine and pure and sacred has been completely turned upside down. And I realized that in my life very early on when I started to question why my relationships were not going the way they were supposed to be going, you know. And it's just, and you have this disassociation with what you intuitively know is needed in that union and what's
Mhm.
actually happening. So
Yeah.
it's almost as if we need to relearn what it is to be human, the
Oh, I
new
love it so
human for
much.
the
Yeah.
next step. It's we have to be aware of our, not just our awareness of ourselves as an individual, take responsibility for ourselves and our actions and everything that we're doing as a catalyst for change, not just from us but for everything around us. And we have to
Mhm.
relearn the concept of love. We don't
Mhm.
want to talk about love as a relationship love, partnership love. We're talking about unconditional love for
I agree with
yourself
you.
and all things around you, which is a new way of thinking. It's a unity consciousness. And this is what we need right now. We need that unity consciousness in
Mhm.
order to help this entire human race move to the next step with clarity and with respect. And,
Jeez, that's a
you know,
freaking tall order. Reteaching these humans, like they're like, it's also we have humans
that,
also have the humans also have to understand their own genetics. You know,
exactly.
genetics of being a female and a male. Like, what are the most common traits male has with every species on the planet? They hunt and they fuck. Their testosterone chemically brained. They're completely wired different than a female, right? And you know, women are so programmed, sorry, humans are so programmed about marriage, about like how cheating is so wrong, sleeping with multiple partners is so wrong. But like that all comes down, if you study real history of marriages, that's all based on religion. Like one man, one woman is a religious thing. Most religions are multiple partners. And before religion, men and women, or men, because back in the day, women had no rights, but men had multiple partners for thousands of thousands a year. So that was the new norm. That was the old norm. Now this is the new norm. And I feel so bad for a human woman that gets so upset when their spouse sleeps with someone else. I'm just like, that's human genetics. Doesn't mean you have to act on it, but that's just what they're testosterone based on, right? And for humans to actually unlearn everything from elementary school, I personally, I don't know how they're going to do it.
Well, I will tell you, I can only speak for myself, but I have done it. And I was able to achieve it within 3 years of heavy, heavy meditation and focus. but it does take time. You have to invest in yourself, and you have to understand. What I realized, I was just tired of suffering. I was tired of pain. I was tired of these repetitive, monotonous life that was useless and pointless. And when you have that awakening and you understand that you have some value, you're going to invest time in you. And just meditating an hour a day will help you begin, even just, and the thing is that people think it's meditation, just, you need to sit down and not move for an hour.
There's
But I'm
lots of types of
talking
meditation.
about,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle of awareness. Question everything. Question yourself. Check in with yourself. What are your emotions? Where is that coming from? What's being triggered in you right now? Who are you
Hmm.
protecting? Are you preserving the ego, some kind of program that you don't even agree with? What are you protecting? Check yourself in that moment so that you can
Yeah.
immediately shift. And so the next time that trigger comes up, you've already learned that thought process, and you know how to detect immediately. And instead of just cause and effect reacting to things, you've now turned into a creator. You are now designing your experience, and it's no longer like a candle in the wind being taken left, right, and center with all these things that are happening. Look what's happening globally. This is the most valuable time for us to practice this, because we have things coming left and right all the time, and that's what they're there for. They're there to take you away as far as possible from your core center, to make you be in a state of fear so that you can't connect to your intuitive self, to your intuition, so that you can hear and know what's actually happening behind the scenes. So our disconnect from our intuition is always going to happen if we're in the lower planes. We need to
Yeah.
clean up that stuff and begin to activate the God creator that you are, and
Yeah.
that's where the importance comes from.
I love how
So
you talk about intuition, because intuition, like the gut feeling, people need to really believe that and go with that, because that's your empathic abilities. Like me, like I can totally tell when someone's lying and they're false and they're wrong, or their intentions aren't true. And I'll sit there and I'll call them out on it. And they sit there and lie right to my face. And I'm just like, I know you're lying. Like, don't lie to an empath. And then like weeks go by and they finally cave in and the truth comes out. And I'm just like, why even lie? Just be real, be who you are. No one's perfect. You know what I mean? I respect you more if you're just honest about who you are. Like, I don't care. Everyone does things on the side, right? And you is what teachers need to be in high schools and elementary. Imagine if people were like you, or teachers in elementary school. Man, this world would be such a beautiful place. But the controllers that be don't want that to happen. So
yeah, but you know what though? Right now, it's an awesome opportunity. We have this little gap that's happening where we are pulling away from the schools because of this quarantine. And now you have the ability to teach your kids at
yeah,
home.
I agree with you.
So
Yeah.
you get educated, parents out there, start understanding what perspective is more valuable for your child to learn into this new world that we're creating. This is our time right now. We have to be really working hard to educate ourselves, to practice, to embody. This is a year of embodiment. All of those little lectures that you've been paying retreats for, what do you pay for them if you're not embodying what you've learned? You need to practice and walk the walk and talk the talk. Like there's no better time than now.
Yeah, I
You
lead
know?
by example now instead of teaching. So I just tried teaching so much, or taking my time to teach, and then I would just get, out of 10 people, you might get two that listen, you might get one that has an awakening, right? But then I was getting so much negative feedback because I just get made fun of, and I'm just like, you know what? And I'm done that way. So since I started leading by example, it's worked so much better as a teaching tool, because I am who I am. I don't hide it anymore. I introduce myself as Ykarta. I don't use my Earth name really anymore, except for business, but that's it. And people are like, oh my God, he's not scared to show who he is. And then all these other star seeds and other teachers are starting to like pop up out of their comfort zone, and like they feel so much better that I brought them out of their little prison that they hide in, right? And their little mask that they wear because they're scared of humans, for figuring out who
Yeah.
they truly are. So
Yeah, and you touched a really important point, because one of the things that we also need to learn about is what free will actually is. And ultimately, we can sit here and talk and train and teach 20 million people, but if they don't understand and they don't want to, just like you were saying, the person that was lying, sometimes that person doesn't even know that they're lying themselves. They don't
that's true.
understand that they're lying to themselves in very profound ways that maybe are caused and suppressed by trauma and experiences that they've had in their past. So we have to have a lot of compassion. Those of you that are more awake, hold space for that truth, and it's a delicate balance of that divine feminine and masculine. We're powerful and strong enough to embody that masculine where we're clear, but we're also nurturing and supportive, and we're holding that space. So this is the thing where we start to balance those two polarities within the body. This is how we create in this physical matrix. When the divine feminine and masculine come into balance, it can then form life. And that's true fractal on our cellular level, our physical level, and then universally, multiverse. That's how the universe is creating as well. So we have to begin to do that. We have to embody
I
that
love it.
balance.
This is
Yeah,
the type of people I need to talk to every day, or my mind goes crazy.
it's awesome. Yeah,
I
and
want to know what your thought is on. Oh, I get this question all the time. Twin flame and soulmate, go.
oh boy. Okay,
I
twin
know it's
flame.
a really crazy subject because a lot of humans, like from what I get, a lot of star seeds are so obsessed with finding their twin flame, so
Yeah.
obsessed with it, and they're like, I don't want anything but my twin flame. I'm like, hey, like, we'll calm down with the twin flame thing. Like, if you were incarnated with your twin flame every existence, you're never gonna learn anything new. And your twin flame, like for me, would be my female energy version of myself. That's my understanding of it. And I'm like, why would you want to date yourself? Would you date yourself right now? Like if my twin flame was here, I'd be completely distracted. But she is here, but she's not here incarnation. Like I close my eyes and I can see her all the time.
Mhm.
And then soulmates, from what I understand, are appointed souls in your life. Like a few of them are my cats, actually, then one of them might be a human. So
Well, here's the thing. I mean, I there was a time when I thought about these soulmates as a concept of a pair of a relationship, right? But what I've realized by looking at my own DNA and also when I work with people is that we're actually more like a nucleus of consciousness, and we're very much interconnected with one another on this planet, not just genetically, biologically, but also multidimensionally. We literally are one organism. So when people talk about that twin flame thing, I think at this point, the way I look at it is that I think we need to look beyond that and not get stuck on the idea that we're just meant to have a certain specific partner, because
I think we're supposed to have
no,
multiple partners, right?
well, it's not even just that. I think beyond sexuality, because just think about that. Sexuality is part of this physical matrix, right?
No, I
The
understand. I'm talking about a
laws of
relationship, yeah.
creation of this physical matrix. But in reality, our soul, it has no sex. It is both. It is both that feminine
Yeah.
and masculine. And so for us to come into this unity consciousness, this evolved consciousness where the vibration is being raised, those two aspects of ourselves have to be seen equally. And only then can you see that balance in another organism, another soul. I call an organism the body, which is physical and also non-physical. The non-physical aspect is over 60% more than the physical, right? And so those interconnections on other planes, we are cycling through archetypes of ourselves. So we sometimes in a past life were connected with our mother. Sometimes we were dating our father, our cousin turns out was our husband and whatnot. So
Oh my God, I've heard this story before. I'll
oh,
explain when
really?
you're done. Yeah, crazy.
So sometimes we're just cycling through these things, and what you'll find is that you've played many different roles. You've played all those different roles. So
Can you
we're
play them all at once? So, for example, can you be living in this incarnation and your mom is you?
Yes, absolutely. And when we go into hypnosis regression, sometimes we access those memories and we tap into that. We recognize the soul, right? And what we're looking at really is a mirror of ourselves, but we're
Mhm.
cycling through these archetypal roles. And that's what we're here to do. There's a process of 12 of these aspects that we are experiencing in this physical plane. And the structure of the universe, really, there are 13 layers to this dimensional plane before you leave this multiverse going into the next one. So we have access to experience all of this range of consciousness. So our ability to connect with one another goes beyond just the union of two. Now, we're talking about contractual agreements, and there are some souls that are repeating continuously, which means that there are contractual agreements that haven't dissolved yet in that partnership. I think that really what these kind of twin flames and souls are the aspects of yourself that must be dissolved once and for all at some point. And you're given this lifetime to experience that. You might experience that with more than one aspect of yourself. So that's my opinion on the twin flame thing. Again, it's my opinion, but I like to go beyond just the physical, because we're much more than that. I think
No,
we're,
I understand. I was just like, I get this question all the time. I was just curious what you, because you
yeah.
were very, I'm level 44, you're very level 80. So in
Thank
knowledge, yeah, it's very,
you.
I like it when I can speak to someone that can school me, and I like being teached. So a lot of star seeds that I meet are very coming or starting to emerge. So they're very level 1 and 2. Yeah. So how are you doing with your dating then? Do you date anymore because you're so spiritually evolved and awakened, or like what do you do? I'm curious.
I don't date right now just because I'm extremely busy. And
Mhm.
again, for me, finding someone to share your life with would have to be someone very, very much in resonance with those beliefs.
Sync, right? Yeah.
There's no way that I would, just randomly date, because we the feeling body is no more running the show, right? Because before, when the feeling body was feeling lonely or needy or stuff like that, it can get into any kind of mess, any kind of
Mhm.
relationship that's unnecessary. I don't feel that need anymore. I also don't believe in marriage anymore.
Same.
I don't believe in having children anymore. So for
Okay.
me, like, my
Why
way
no
of
children?
creating, huh?
Why no children?
Um, for Okay, when you understand what it means to bring a soul into this body, not only is it a contractual agreement, but we're living, I mean, just look at our society in a compartmentalized reality.
I
And
agree with
it,
you.
I mean, why would I don't, I feel a lot of people have children from a very egoic perspective. And I believe that when you have a child, everything that you have never learned through yourself is what you're going to be learning through that experience of raising that child. And so
Hmm.
a lot of people have children to feel complete and whole. And that's a disservice, not only to yourself, but to that other soul that you're bringing in. All you're doing is propagating that karmic trauma that you're carrying within you. I think in order to be a responsible parent, it's really necessary for you to work on your stuff, all that junk that you have. If you don't, I almost feel like it's irresponsible to bring another living being into the planet. So
I
I
said
really,
this 5 years ago.
yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
I thought
I
it was
almost,
so irresponsible to bring another soul in here because I believe that we're karmically contracted to these beings because we free will know what this world is, and then we brought them in here, and
exactly.
then yeah, that I like, for some reason that just came into my mind 5 years ago. That's why I didn't want kids, and until I met a woman that had a 1 year old, and I raised her from 1 to 4, and she was a starseed herself too, and she was talking crazy stories, but I knew what she was doing, so I embraced her and helped teach her and help grow her, and I just fell in love with that idea. Like I would love to have kids, but like if I can teach it on my own, like I would never put it in school systems, nothing. I would give it the best high vibrational dice. Like it would be completely be taught real, like
Yes.
what the universe is. Like your
Yeah.
dreams are true realities. Let's explore it together. Let's go. Like, and then that's how I would do it if I was to do the child thing, which I would love to
Exactly.
do. But then again, I don't. I'm like you. I'm at a point in my life. I don't believe in marriage. Marriage feels like a prison contract trap for me. I'm just like I'm so multidimensional. I'm so evolving as so fast that how can I just be stationary in a 9 to 5 relationship on it? And plus, I could never date a human again because they're so closed-minded and so slow and so boring in my eyes that like how could I ever be with them for the rest of my life?
Yeah. I mean, the reason why I don't believe in marriage is because at this point in my life, I feel that I'm against this kind of, this programming, the whole idea
Yeah,
of
the
having a
trap.
piece of
Yeah,
paper, and I just feel
the
like
ring and
life
all that
was,
stuff. Like girls want the ring and the dress. They're programmed from birth. That stuff. It's just like Jesus.
and trust me, I used to be a wedding planner. So, for me, it was like, that was like the biggest thing, the most important thing. And I feel like it's changed a lot because we're not, those kinds of unions are not made from authenticity. They're the union of two souls that really love each other and see each other and recognize each other goes beyond a piece of paper. It goes beyond all of those things. And I think that that's kind of what personally I would want to achieve in a relationship. And I would hope other people would have the awareness to consciously come into those kinds of unions, you know, instead of just
Yeah.
because you're lonely or you feel like you have to. Yeah.
Check my speaker. It says, oh, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yes.
Your speaker is not working properly. It says, I don't know, weird. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Sorry, it said it's not recording the audio. I'm like, what?
Oh no.
This is good stuff. So it's almost an hour here. I want you to give a message to humans and then a message to star seeds. Go.
Yeah, so my message is right now we are at a very special time where everything's getting thrown up in the air, everything's shifting and changing. At the beginning, we're fearful. We're fearful because we don't know what's coming next. But I really invite you to really embrace the unknown and to start working on the parts of yourself that fear that unknown part of you. What you see outside that you don't know is what you don't know within you, okay? I hope that makes sense. What I realized is when I was in a state of fear and anxiety of the things that were happening outside of me, I realized that I had a lot of stuff inside me that I still didn't recognize, that didn't see. And when I took the time to look at them, that's when I started to realize that I was actually a powerful creator and I could manifest and shift and change the things that I was experiencing, how I was responding to them. We are not this body. We are multidimensional beings, infinite consciousness, becoming aware through all possibilities. So we are experiencing a spectrum from good events to bad events. They're just experiences. So if you can look at yourself more as a light and look at everyone as a light instead of the physical body, this will soften your ability to move through these changing and shifting times in a more organic and natural way. And for the star seeds, you know, this is your time. So, you know, hold space in your knowledge and your wisdom, embody, please walk the walk, talk the talk, and have compassion too. I see a lot of spiritual bullying. I see a lot of spiritual stuff going on that, you know, what side are you on? Like, you need to become aware of what your actions cause. It's a ripple effect. And if your ripple effect is causing pain, suffering, instead of, you know, unity and love, you know, take a look at that. So that's all,
Yeah.
that's all I'd like to say.
So
Thank you.
how can people get a hold of you? Because you're very good at teaching.
Thank you so much. You guys, if you want to get a DNA reprogramming with me, you can find me at bayareameditation.com or geraldineorozco.com. If you are an experiencer of extraterrestrial or interdimensional contact, you can find me at hybridmother.com. And I would be very pleased to assist and help you guys in any way. Okay. Thank you
Oh,
so much
love
for
it. I
having
feel
me.
so much smarter.
Thank
Thank you. Love and light. Thank you for coming on.
you so much.
Bye.